The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, January 5th, 2023, Season 18, Episode number 101. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Got my crew here with me, and actually I'm feeling really good. I don't know how many of you guys have seen it, but I just saw a news report that there was some really great news coming out of Cincinnati. Damar Hamlin's, or the people that are treating Damar Hamlin, put out some information that was released by the Buffalo Bills, saying that he is actually making remarkable progress. Was able to actually open his eyes last night. Was able to respond to, requests to clench the hands of family members that were there. Just different things that give them positive signs. They said they think that he is neurologically intact, which is something I think everyone was kind of worried about because he was down for so long. But man, all that just makes me feel really good that this thing might be progressing in the right way. And we, as an NFL community, we may have dodged a bullet of a serious injury to a player, and so I'm feeling really good about that. But today we're going to talk a little bit about a couple different topics. We got to get you guys ready for Cowboys versus Commanders. It's coming up this weekend, final game of the regular season. Before we get to that, though, a topic that's near and dear to Nick's heart, the Hall of Fame. Last night we find out some finalists for the Hall of Fame, and the Cowboys have three former players who are on that list. I'm going to start because I know Nick has some real love for one person in particular. But I just want to give you guys, we all do. We absolutely all do. But we want to give you guys a chance to talk about the Cowboys guys who are on that list: Darren Woodson, DeMarcus Ware, and Chuck Howley, and maybe the rationale as to why you think that they should be on that list and maybe should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I'll start with Darren Woodson, since nobody else has a poster of him in their office.
Bet you just got moved this morning.
Just got moved back over. Yeah, I mean, I had to wait for him to be a Hall of Fame finalist before that happened.
Right.
No, I think that he could have played in any era that you played, that you wanted to line him up, and he would have been a really, really great player. He could be linebacker. He could be a corner. He could be, he was a safety. Yeah, he's a nickel safety that could cover the slot. It's just rare. I mean, to be a guy that big, that fast, and that smart, he could do everything. And so, and then you throw that's why he should be a Hall of Famer. Why we're excited about it is because all of those things on the field, he's a much better person.
Yep.
And everyone that's been in contact with him one time would know that. And so I'm so happy for him. I don't know if he'll get in this time, but it gets you a little closer to the door.
Yeah, the thing that, and I actually have seen all three of these guys play. As a kid, I got to see Chuck Howley play, and still the only MVP in a Super Bowl from a losing team.
I've heard that.
But here's a guy that played with Leroy Jordan. They're both in the Ring of Honor. You talk about a guy, a model of consistency throughout his career. Played in a 14-game schedule, and then if you look at his numbers, it's 14 games every year. I mean, throughout his whole career, he suffered a knee injury.
Huge.
Yeah, he suffered a knee.
Yeah.
Suffered a knee injury very early in his career, and then from that point on, just played throughout. And you talk about when you watched him play, there was that. We've always marveled at the linebackers and the ones that we know here, like the guys like the Sean Lees and people like that have that ability to see the play develop and get to the play and finish the play. You never saw Chuck Howley missing tackles. And that's the thing about it. I always remember. He played on some really good defenses, with the Cowboys in the early 70s and stuff like that. And through some championship games and stuff too, through football history against the Packers and things like that. Very, very deserving of, I would be I'll be interested to see if the seniors committee can get him through. Rick Goslin, who lives here, covered the team, the Cowboys forever, is a guy that has taken upon himself to champion these Dallas Cowboys that seem to have been forgotten before 1989. The guys, the Bob Hayeses, the Rayfield Wrights, guys like that. He's taken it upon himself to try and get these players pushed over the goal line. And so hopefully he can get that done. But, man, you talk about a guy with Chuck Howley, though, around the ball, intercepts, fumbles, you name it, he was able to do that.
What's funny to me is that Ware and Woodson, they're called like modern day finalists, but it's still not my modern day. Like when I got into the NFL, that was like way past when I initially started following the NFL and all that. But I've gotten to know them and the way they played because of some of the documentaries that we've done here with the Cowboys. And it's amazing. Like that type of play, watching them play. I mean, I was here when, I guess, towards the end when DeMarcus he retired and all that. But I still didn't know much of his history. But watching them play back then, it's, it's so fun. Like it's such a different type of game. Even Woodson, the way that he played, like, we don't really get to see those type of players anymore nowadays. So going back and that sucks that I kind of missed that era and time period where football was very different than what it is now.
Very different, yeah.
I mean, more aggressive and all that, and more like hardcore, exhausting, and it's just a different game, but I would imagine much more exciting for the watchers and the viewers. So anyways, just going back, it's impressive. And Woodson, like Nick said, you talk to him, and he's such an amazing guy. And not just what he did as a player himself, but what he was able to do for other people as well and other teammates. It's just impressive, and I'm very happy for him and them as a group too.
Yeah, the thing about it is the last draft I was involved with the Cowboys was the Ware one, and you don't know, well, we all know, I mean, from stories and stuff, the documentaries and things that you guys have done through the years. What that was an ordeal to get that done. I mean,
Sean Merriman was the other guy.
Sean Merriman and Bill Parcells, and we all know Bill Parcells. He's a very headstrong guy, and and he really took it personal. And Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, the scouts that pushed that one through, to get Ware here, he was everything that everybody ever talked about in that room about him. And here he went to a very small school. Everybody's like, small school guys, you don't know. The Buffalo Bills forever made a history of taking small school guys and going to the Super Bowl, Andre Reeds and guys like that. And so, when you brought Ware in, you knew. And so the thing about Woodson, I was in the league for 13 years as a scout, and I was very fortunate to be with some other Hall of Famers, the Reggie Whites, Brett Favre's, guys like that, great players. This is the best football player I've ever been with. Best football player I've ever been on a team with, of all these great Hall of Fame players. And I never could understand why. Why is this guy not a Hall of Famer? Because Nick described him perfectly. There is nothing this guy could do. He would get a turnover, and then they would score, and then he would be on the kickoff team. He never came off the field. Never. It didn't matter. I mean, he's covering kicks. He's doing everything. He's playing linebacker. He's playing safety. He's covering your slot. I mean, when you just sat down and watched him play, there was nothing this guy couldn't do. And I just remember him coming out of Arizona State, too. Dave Campo tells great stories about him and how Dave, and convinced Jimmy and all that. But, man, what a football player. Best I've ever been around.
And the interesting part about Woody is – not only just could he do everything on the football field, off the football field. Like he left the football, left football, he went into broadcasting. Still to this day, I tell him all the time, that's his gift. Like he was so good on ESPN.
Got tired of the
travel. And then decided he didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And went into commercial real estate and now killing that. Like it's just like anything he touches, it just seems like he has a knack for figuring it out and doing it exceptionally well.
And the thing about it is his story. When we got a chance to do a documentary. Rob Phillips, Amber was a part of it.
By the way, you can go check it out on our website.
Yeah, Path to Safety is what it was called, I believe. And The thing is when he was in college at Arizona State, he missed his first year. He was labeled, and this is what they labeled him back then, was a Prop 48.
Yeah.
Which basically said, you're not smart enough to play right now.
Yeah.
You're good enough as a football player that we want to keep you and work with you, but you can't be a part of the team right now. He said it was the most embarrassing he's ever been in his life because they labeled the kids, fair or unfair, and mostly unfair, and that motivated him, and that drove him to the point where when he got on that football field, and the classroom, he was completely different. Now look at him; he owns his own business. I get goosebumps just talking about him because he really is. He's an amazing person and player.
You talk about that Prop 48 stuff; those kids were that stigma, and I never saw one that didn't graduate. Yeah. Every single Prop 48 that I was ever with graduated. It was never an academic problem. Never. So, I mean, that just shows you that, and fair or unfair, it was at the time, it is. But those kids, they realized they had to carry that, and they worked so hard, and they wanted to make sure that a lot of them carry that. And it's like, we was a Prop 48, and you kind of felt, oh, okay. You felt bad for them. You really, really did because they're such good football players. Maybe they struggle a little bit. Maybe you were dealing with dyslexia or something like that you couldn't.
Or maybe they weren't being taught well.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever high school they were in.
No,
Lots of factors here.
it happens. A lot of things happen along the way. But if you had a kid and you said, "Hey, I want you to be like," I told Bennett Bross, and Bennett knows Darren Woods. I said, "Be like him, Bennett. Be like that guy." That's the guy you need to try. Don't look at anybody else. Look at that guy over there. That's who you want to be like right there.
The most loyal person.
Oh, no question.
Because he had a friend, it's documented, that we did in the documentary. He had a friend that was going down the wrong path and did go down the wrong path. And but he never let Darren come with because he knew you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Don't come to this party. No. You can't come here because you got a football career. And this guy went to prison for 20 years, 25 years. Never saw him play in the college or the pros. But Darren called him every single Tuesday, called him, took his own son up to visit him, never turned his back on his friend. We interviewed him for the story, too. It got really emotional. Yeah. But, I mean, that's just, even when people Woodson. Were telling him, hey, you don't need to mess with this guy. You're in the NFL. And he's like, it's family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I've learned to really appreciate sports is because a lot of the times this is not just Darren Woodson. This happens to so many players in the league. The environment that they grow up in, where it's just there's not many options and there's really no financial stability. It's a bad environment, and we know you tend to become what you surround yourself with. And sometimes where nobody else has done it in your family, it's hard to get through that, get past that and just rely on something that it's, let's say, sports. So many of these guys kind of get out of that and become a different person because of sports and their ability. So that's a different side of things. Just it's impressive. Even the people that don't get to make it into a Hall of Fame finalist, but just in general. And we know we've worked with other people that have come from a different background and were in sports and are now people that really work for trying to help others and help the community in different ways and try to impact younger people. So it's always amazing to me to see kind of the background of some of these people and players and see how hard it was and look at where and how they've become nowadays.
Yeah, my hope is that all three of these men get in because I think they're all three deserving. And it's really especially I'm excited for Woody as a person just because I know him as a person and I know him to be a good person. Wow. So I want to see a great thing happen for him. But even for DeMarcus, it's interesting and it's exciting for me because now we're getting that era of players. Like I literally was here. I remember the day I first saw him walk in the building as a wiry kid that was kind of skinny. I'm like, he's going to be on the defensive line, and then watched his career every single play. And all of the ups, the downs, the scary times. We had the situation with the neck.
The Orleans,
there are all these moments, and so it's kind of cool to now see that all come full circle and him get this opportunity to possibly be in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I was just going to say. Full circle, going back to Woody, Arizona is where he's from. He's from that's where he grew up, And I believe that's where the Super Bowl is, right?
It
That's
is.
where the announcement is. So
It
he's
is.
going back to Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, like here, this is where it all started. And you get announced. Now, obviously, the Hall of Fame's in Canton, Ohio, but the announcement,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't think it's going to happen for him this year. I don't.
It's
I
a
just
stout
think
list,
it's a
man. It's a
process
stout list.
to get him there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Zach Thomas, another former Cowboy, kind of.
Kind of.
He's been here like 4 years.
I would say
Was he
he's
here
a
4
Dolphin.
years?
I would
Yeah, he
say
is.
He's a Dolphin.
He
But
is
I
a Dolphin.
believe this. He's gotten to this round
Yeah.
4 or 5. I mean, Torrey Holt. I mean, these guys. It just takes a little bit of time to kind of get here. But you know, once you get in the door here, then you kind of stay in it. It'll happen.
The best thing for a lot of guys, for like Ware and Derek just hit the nail on the head. There was a time where voters hadn't seen a lot of these guys play.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're sitting there, and that's why you're glad for the senior committee, where you have guys like Rick Goslin and them on that are able to say, well, listen, Claude Humphrey for the Atlanta Falcons used to rush the passer just as well as Deacon Jones did with the Los Angeles Rams. You know, I mean, you're now starting to see voters like, oh, I remember this guy. I remember this guy. And now it's, you know, it used to be like, well, I'll just take your word for it, you know, and then you don't get a vote when it's like you're not sure. You know, and it is a stout list. I mean, it really is a stout list.
It's going to be a tough thing to make it this year because there are a number of guys. I look at this list and I'm like, man, they need to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Woody also played in an era, too, with Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu and people like John Lynch. You know, there was, I mean, let me tell you what, Leroy Butler. I was with both.
I was gonna say who's better.
Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson's a better player than Leroy Butler. If you told me right now, and trust me, you know my history with the Green Bay Packers. Darren Woodson is a better player than Leroy Butler in all facets of the game. And Leroy Butler is a good player. He was a corner, got converted and all that. But you look at the body of work, Darren Woodson was a far better player, and Leroy Butler got in. And to this day, I've said it before on radio. I mean, people are, I love Leroy Butler, but Darren Woodson is a better football player and deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'll tell one more story about him. Just kind of shows the character that he has. Back in 2000, 2001, I mean, you know, the team wasn't playing well, obviously, and there was one guy that was the star. Obviously, Emmitt Smith. I mean, he was
I
still
love the
the
story,
guy.
by the way.
Well,
I think I know which one you're talking about.
well, I mean, and this team was, you know,
We were awful.
3-10.
No, we were awful.
Time, you know,
Yeah.
As Brian says, you love to throw this back in his face.
No, he's not wrong.
I'm messing with you guys.
Absolutely. No, he's not wrong. The thing about it is, though, too, I felt terrible because I knew how great of a player Darren Woodson was to have to put up every week with this crap. Yeah. You know?
In the locker room, while the media was going on, there'd be 4 or 5 players that would sit there and they would just love to play dominoes. They would play dominoes, and Emmitt was part of it. Emmitt, Robert Thomas, there's others I can't think of.
Shout out to the Qs.
Yeah. But Darren called him out.
Yeah.
Called out Emmitt, said, you know what, we need to stop playing damn dominoes and get in the playbook. Get in there. You know, and I'm just, you know, Emmitt took offense to that, and I mean, it got in the media as a story, and Emmitt tried to, you know, kind of brush it off or whatever. But you know, Darren was like, "Hey, we got enough of this crap. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get better."
And that's true leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're willing to say what needs to be said to whomever it needs to be said to.
Yeah.
Right. That's real leadership.
Well, I'll tell you, the game, remember the Terrell Owens star game where he got George Teague took a run at him? Darren Woodson got kicked out of that game, too, for something that happened earlier in the game. I remember going down from the press box and going into the locker room to go tell Woody, hey, you know, I appreciate everything you've done, just to basically apologize again. So I'm down there with Woody. I'm sitting there watching the game, sitting in the locker stall. He goes and showers. Teague comes in, and Teague's like, Woody goes, what the hell did you do? He goes, I took a run at Owens. I got kicked out, too. And he goes, it's about damn time somebody got mad around here. Yeah. You know, it's about time. You know, I mean, that's just the type of guy that Darren Woodson was. The great stories about him with breaking his arm in Baltimore. It's just tape it up and Britt Brown walking him in full uniform over. They don't have an X-ray machine at the stadium in Baltimore. That's come a long way since then, I guess.
Yeah.
But now you're in a situation where he's like, just tape it. We're going to play.
He's absolutely the example of that guy that on the field he is one guy. And off the field he's a completely different guy, right? Because on the field he was intense. He was intense.
Super intense.
And could play the game and played it really aggressively.
He's the only player still. I wrote this in the story. He's the only player that has played for 5 coaches in Cowboys history.
Really?
Yeah. He's the only one that's played for 5. And he said that it was 1 year with Parcells, and he said he wished there was a lot more with Parcells. I bet
I could
Parcells
see that
does
too. Yeah, I could see that because that's the kind of coach you would think a personality like Darren's would really, really love, right?
Well, one day at training camp in 2003, first year we were down in San Antonio, Parcells, this is probably scripted. He didn't like what was going on in practice. He took the entire coaching staff and they just walked off. And the practice was still going on, another 30 minutes or so. And it was almost like, what happens? And Darren
ran the practice.
And then huddled them up at the end and said, we're not talking to the media. We don't know what's going on. Everybody just get your ass in the locker room and all that. But, and I think Bill did that on purpose to kind of see.
When Bill got here, he had a conversation with Woody and basically told him, like, if you go scorch earth on us, that's fine. Yeah, we deserve this.
Yeah.
So he knew. That's a great man, great player.
So
all 3 of them.
Press conference at 3:00 today.
All 3 of those guys deserve it, though. They really all do.
Yeah. So we'll have that aired on our website, mobile app, everything.
One more thing about this, Chuck Howley.
Yeah.
He had 25 interceptions in his career.
Really?
Yeah.
As a linebacker.
He had 6 of them in 1 year.
Wow.
He
that's crazy.
25. That's a career for.
But I'm gonna say this about the process. Chuck Howley could go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He's not going to know that.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah. 86.
But he got dementia? Or, it's bad. He doesn't. And it's the story was told. Mickey Spagnola's talked to the son. His son might be here for the press conference today. And we told him Dad, you made it to the Hall of Fame. He was like, that's nice. That's what he hasn't made a play in 50 years.
Yeah.
The process has got to change.
Yeah.
Let these guys experience the joy of being in the Hall of Fame and get this thing sped up a little bit if possible. I don't know how. I know it's easier said than done, but the sad part is that he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he's never really going to get the experiences.
How do you fix that? And I don't want to get. I know we got only so much time, but the question becomes like, do you make it to where you just put in a lot of guys? Because that's the issue, is that you only have so many people you want to have going in a particular year.
And then
that's what makes it so special.
And you got Dion.
So how do you do it?
Stuff.
That guy shouldn't be in like Bob Greasy.
Well, Dion's like, I need to be in a different room.
Yeah.
You want to be in
not the Hall of Good.
Yeah. That's fine, but I need to be in a different room than these guys.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
He's on a different level.
And,
he is.
And they have actually done that. It's kind of like, it's like when you graduate, everyone's graduating, and then these people that have like the gold
tassels
didn't have those. But I'm saying that's kind of.
It's like I had the hat.
Right. But it's like first ballot.
have that.
But that's what they do for well, you're not a first ballot. That's why D. Ware got screwed last year. They didn't want to make him a first ballot.
One of my favorite pictures I have in my phone. We were at the Hall of Fame years ago. And we were touring with the team, and DeMarcus asked me to take a picture of him in front of Deacon Jones' bus. Yeah, and still got it on my phone. Yeah. Took a picture of him there, and now there's a chance that he will have his bust right in there with those guys, which pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's
Deacon
pretty cool.
Jones's bus, because they do it by years.
Yeah.
So he'll have to travel down. His bus will have to travel down.
Yeah, it'll be a little farther away.
Yeah, he'll have to make a little road trip down there to get it.
That's still cool.
That's my favorite part of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
that's the best part.
Walking through, and kind of looking, and then we're all like a critic. You're like, oh, it looked like him. You're oh, that definitely looks like Ed Reed, or or somebody like that. Like they did a good one here.
But for me, it's like going back through my childhood, because I go back to those years and like guys that were getting in the '90s. That means they were playing when I was a kid. Yeah. And you look at those guys very, very differently. So like Jerry Jones, a Hall of Fame party. Yeah. You see all these guys walking around in these yellow jackets, and you're running into guys that you watched play when you were a kid. It's pretty cool.
You guys left me at home for that one.
It was a pretty awesome night.
It was an epic event. Let me just put it like that.
And you get someone like me that's walking around. I'm like, well, that guy must be important. Okay, I don't know him, but he's
got a yellow jacket.
Then you got Hellman throwing up in the bathroom, and so
I'll say this: there was about 400 Hall of Famers there with their gold jackets, which means there was 401 gold jackets. But
That's funny. Yeah, you're right about that. All
There
right,
was
we're
one
gonna take
guy
our
in
first
a
break.
gold jacket that was just wearing.
It was his own gold jacket. All right, we're gonna take our first break. We're gonna come back.
Get to the break.
You'll know in the break.
We'll jump into this Washington defense versus the Cowboys offense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Visit your local Dallas Cowboys Pro Shop or log on to shop.dallascowboys.com, a Fanatics experience, and grab Cowboys Nation-worthy hoodies, tees, accessories, and more.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star.
One more thing about Woodson. No, I'm just kidding.
This
Or Hamlin, whichever one.
This segment presented to you by blockchain.com. I'm hopeful that at some point here, especially if he gets in, I would love. We'll see if maybe we can pull Woody over here and get him on a show one day and talk to him about some stuff. We'll see if we can arrange that.
He's always a great interview.
He is. And you can ask him questions about the Cowboys. He knows.
You think Nick has his number?
28.
Oh no, his phone number. If you don't, I'll give it to you.
I mean, I wasn't going to say this, but I will. I'll say it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna say that we are friends because we're not. Like I don't. He probably doesn't.
No. You're friends.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, you're friends.
I texted him last night,
Yeah.
and I just said congratulations,
Yeah.
Woody. So well deserved. Typical Darren. He wrote back and said thanks, appreciate it. How you been? You been all right? I mean, like, how many text messages do you think he's getting at the time? And that's just him.
Yeah.
We didn't.
He's one of those guys that has that rare ability that when you're talking to him, you feel like you're important to him. You know what I mean? Like, there's not everybody in the world that's like that, but he's one of those rare people that whenever you're talking to him, you feel like he's connected with you at that moment. It's never like, I'm moving on to something else. And that's just
take that back.
Rare kind of person.
I'm gonna take that back. We are friends.
You're friends.
We're friends.
You're friends.
Yeah,
Absolutely, you're friends.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't want to say that like, I'm from.
I'm gonna say he's a friend.
Yeah,
because to me, like one of the proudest moments I ever had when he was working at ESPN. He likes to bounce ideas off you.
Yeah.
And he would say, hey, listen, this is what I'm seeing about this football team. And here's a guy that's potentially going to go in the Hall of Fame, and he's asking me questions about his team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, like, man, you're Darren Woodson. What you don't need my opinion.
But it's what made him great on the air.
Absolutely.
It's what made him great on the air.
He's like, he'd call me up and he'd say, hey, Brian, I'm seeing this about this football team. What are you seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And we would have like an hour conversation. He goes, okay, man, I got to go to set. And I was like, all right, man. And then like 2 days later, we were thinking about talking about this, and he and I would just shoot the bull about this team. And I was honored I was honored that this guy even wanted my football opinion on something.
He's done that before with me. That reminds me, like the one time though, even more than that, I did a radio show. I mean, it's like, can you do an interview? Can you come on NFL radio on Saturday? What Sirius? I don't even know. I'm just like, whatever it is, it's cool.
I do that a lot.
It's gonna be Chris and Dan. I'm like. Whatever.
Chris and Dan.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know. Okay, cool. And I'm Chris. This is Nick Even. And then Dan has a question. It was like, Dan, Nick, Dan Reeves, head coach. I was like, what? And he was like, what are you seeing? I was just like, I don't feel right about this. Like, you're a Hall of Fame coach, or you should be, or a Super Bowl coach. I was just like, Dan Reeves. Well, Dan, what I see, nah, I didn't feel good about that at all.
His son's one of the best, though, too. Dan Reeves. Well, son-in-law.
Joe D.
Joe D.
That's your dude. Talk about your friend. That's your dude.
We got times for some Joe D story?
No, we don't. We got to get back into.
He was on the field.
We'll get that another time.
The king of the sayings.
Oh God,
he's got the best.
Yeah,
Joe S. the Ragman.
Joe S. the Ragman. It's his own name. He just uses it as his own name. But yeah, we were on the field in L.A. and I don't typically go on the field, but he was over there. I was just like, well, I'm just walking on the field here. I hope I don't get hit by a punt. It was like pretty
not
early.
The sideline. This is literally on the field.
No, it was just on the field. He's got his guys. I just went over there and
he was warming up the punter at the time because I was with you.
You were, yeah. I think I grabbed Chris to go with me. I was
so did it look more official, like he was
go out
filming
something?
Like,
no, I don't want to go there. I was like, just come on.
Did you go with me? Yeah, because he's got the vest.
Yeah.
Like, go with me.
Like, come on, Nick.
That's right.
Go.
I forgot
you just got to know, Nick. You just walk on like you're supposed to be out there.
True.
That's my.
That's what Brian.
You got on a sport coat and you look like you're supposed to be there. Nobody will stop.
You get an official's pass. Just go.
It works.
Brian, just hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, us seven are supposed to be here. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's keep going. Keep moving.
All right, let's flip this conversation.
We have not talked about the
we
football
have not.
game.
Let's talk about the Washington defense. First of all, one thing I need to note. I went and looked at the injury report yesterday.
They're banged up.
I'm not sure Washington will want to play their guys this week. Like, their
I
injury
wouldn't be
list.
Fooled.
You look. I know, and I want to see what it looks like today. But when you look at the list of guys that did not practice yesterday, and look at it from the standpoint of guys that are starters for them. You've got Jonathan Allen. You've got Montez Sweat. You've got Jamin Davis. You've got Cornelius Lucas. You've got Andrew Norwell. You've got Brian Robinson. Yeah. It's a long list of guys that did not practice. We'll see what happens today.
Right.
But as of yesterday, a lot of their guys were sitting out of practice with injuries.
Yeah, their defense is the one I think that's kind of nicked up right now. Jonathan Allen and then Kareem Curl. And then Benjamin St. Juice are the ones you kind of need to worry about in this game. It's still, you watched them play against the Browns last week, and they got after the Browns. Mm-hmm. These guys. I mean, it is a good front. It is a good front seven. You mentioned Jamin Davis. With him, David Mayo, those guys, they get after it. They really, really do. And they got Chase Young back. That's the thing. Chase Young is back rushing the passer. So
great.
Yeah. So we'll see. But Sweat, Payne, Allen would be a huge loss for them.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because he really controls the middle of that defense, and especially if you're kind of having to deal with moving guys around. If you get if Tyler Smith has to play inside it, Tyler Smith's a strong guy, but these two defensive tackles are really strong, and they're the thing when you watch the Commanders play, they're up the field. I mean, they're and teams hit them on plays where it's like the quick hitters like that, where all of a sudden you see them upfield, and then it's like when you break that first group, now they have a big play, but you got to get it past that first group of guys because they're going to be really disruptive in this game. They're going to go for tackles for loss. Defenses, that's what they do. But these guys, they're so big, and the way that they get up the field and get around blocks, and now they're penetrating, and they don't let you start running the ball. But the teams that have had success, like I say, the Browns did a good job of the perimeter runs. They were able to kind of control the edges, whether that was against Sweat or against Chase Young. They were able to kind of secure that edge and get the ball to the outside there to where they were able. It wasn't so easy running inside. Everything to the outside was a lot better shape for. And I think the Cowboys in this game, I don't think, the game plan against the Titans appeared to be more inside runs. This thing needs, and maybe with Tony Pollard it'll be different too, It'd be more of the perimeter runs. I think that's how you find a way. They're a good tackling defense. I think Kendall Fuller at corner is a good player. St. Juice is hurting them. Like I said, the other corner, they're using this Danny Johnson, number 36. He's a guy that's been with them for a few years, but it's not the same. St. Juice is a guy that can cover. I mean, when you talk about him and Fuller, you can match up, and they can kind of take guys and handle it. It doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, you have to travel, you have to stay. Both these guys, I mean, either side, whatever side you put Lamb on, they can cover. Now, if that's with Danny Johnson in there, that's the guy I would tack. I wouldn't tack Kendall Fuller on the other side. I would attack Danny Johnson if he was in there, if that was me.
I still got the Holcomb.
The linebacker? No, I do not.
Who's he with? Holcomb played. I know he played last year. I haven't
seen him. I think we would see if he's on the injured reserve, but I don't think that he is.
I know. I just remember that was a guy the Cowboys really liked.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's on IR week 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not see him. Yeah,
Holcomb.
Yeah.
But with all these guys injured, like, what's really the need or necessity for them to play them at this point?
I think I think that, to me, the way that I would look at it as a pride factor to finish out. They have a chance to be 8-1, and that's, remember Jason Garrett back in the day, like trying to get to, get one game above 500. That was so he played some games where they were trying to get above 500, because for so many years it was that stigma. It's like he's a 500 coach. So he played a game against, I think it was the Commanders. So he played everybody in the game just to get above 500. They might be they don't want to have a losing record.
Yeah, and let's also be clear. I mean, there's nothing to say that this head coach is safe, that these players are safe.
Yeah.
So
they're about to change ownership
to get a win in a game like this in a city where they despise the Cowboys, those that aren't Cowboys fans, which are a ton of Cowboys fans there. That matters. And anytime you're talking about rivalry type games, getting a win sometimes in a rivalry type game can make a whole season feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And going into an off season, I would suspect that a lot of people in Washington, the surrounding areas who are fans of the Commanders, it'll make them feel a little bit better for whatever the outcome of the season is if they can get that win this weekend.
Well, if they keep Dallas from potentially winning the division too, is another
that could matter
thing.
To them.
But I do feel like, though, and they're playing a rookie quarterback. They're trying to figure out something, and maybe that's the momentum they need. Maybe the rookie quarterback goes out and plays well, and it's like, okay, we don't need Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. We don't need Taylor Heineke. We'll go with this kid. We'll draft others. We'll make this team.
It's that hope.
I've said this. I think this is I think this team should be in the playoffs. They're not. The Giants are in the playoffs. I think this team is better than the Giants team myself. I just do.
I was thinking just now that if I'm Washington, I don't know what they're going to be picking, 17, 18, something like that. I would trade number one pick and maybe even next year's number one for the best quarterback like if there was a Russell Wilson situation. I know that didn't work out well, but somebody like that, I would look into that, because I think that's what they are missing. They're missing a quarterback, a veteran quarterback, and maybe a team you trade to a team that doesn't really think that they want to trade their quarterback until you throw them a first-round pick at them, and you're like, well, maybe, or 2 first-round picks.
See, I get and I agree with the premise of that. I don't know if I would go that particular route. I would rather say, let me get those first-round picks and see if I can move up in the draft to where I could possibly draft that guy. Because for them, I would look at it and say, I want a young quarterback. Because this year, what would scare me is what happened with Russell. What would scare me is what happened with Matt Ryan. Like those teams went out and said, we just need a quarterback now. And they went and got these veteran guys that they were like, we think we can bring them in. And it just didn't work. Yeah. And by the way, that doesn't mean it doesn't work for everybody. It just means I would be a little bit shy of that after watching those two players.
They might be, depending on, and we do our platform here with the draft show and stuff like that, we'll be talking about these guys a bunch. But maybe they're in a position where they can get a guy like Will Levis from Kentucky. Maybe, it's going to be Young, Stroud, Levis. I mean, where are the quarterbacks going to fall? And the one thing about it is, you mentioned this, there's so many quarterbacks on the market too. I mean, will the Raiders have a fire sale on Carr?
Sure, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You think he'd fit there? Think he'd be good there?
I think he probably needs one of those fresh start type things.
But does he give you is it going to be more of the same? Because he's had to this point. It's the reason why the Raiders will probably let him go is because he's had a disappointing career to this point, right?
He's got him to the playoffs a couple of different times. If you look at, but yeah, I mean, to me, he's always in that group. Remember when people compare, whether you like it or not, they always put him in that group with Dak Prescott. That what quarterback is he? Is he 8, 9, 10? They always kind of lump Derek Carr into that mix. So there are going to be some quarterbacks potentially on the market that you can go sign. But like I say, maybe they're in a position if they're picking 16 or 17 where all of a sudden Will Levis comes down to them and they just draft a quarterback that's tough, sturdy. I think ownership's going to have a lot to say what happens here because this could be a completely different front office and ownership group and direction once the spring meetings and stuff start.
Yeah, let's take our final break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit real quick before we end the show about the cornerback position and how much, now that we've seen Bland and we've seen Wright and they've started to look a little bit better, how much of a difference now is there between what was there before and what they have now going into the playoffs? We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere Zero Turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Helped Dak Prescott win the 2022 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. Of course, that would be in 2023.
Yeah.
But it's presented by Nationwide. You can help Dak earn a $25,000 donation to his Faith Fight Finish Foundation by voting on Twitter, tweet or retweet hashtag WPMOY Challenge, followed by Dak Prescott through January 8th. Vote Dak.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break. We only got about a minute and 15 seconds. But
come on, Amber. Why'd you talk so much today?
Seriously?
We're gonna
sitting here quietly listening to you guys.
Yeah, this was story time with the break today, and it was well deserved. I think we should have done that. But real quick, I did want to talk.
Thrown some Hallie stories if you wanted to, like Chuck Hallie stories.
Yeah,
I didn't have any. Only thing I know about him.
I was 10 years old when he finished, by the way, but I remember him playing.
We can talk modern, actual date, modern date.
How modern can you go? A minute and a half. I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't mean to take you.
No, it's fine. As a matter of fact, I'm just not going to save this topic because we got like literally 35 seconds left.
When you walked on the tennis courts in Oxnard.
My first year, was it 2015?
Okay.
So the year before Dak and
the year before Dak got here.
Yeah,
because I went through the period where we were just going through quarterbacks and,
Kellen Moore, Castle.
Brandon Whedon, loved him, great guy. Not
yeah,
on the
so
field,
modern era for
but-
you has a whole different feel to it. A much different
You're
feel to it.
really modern. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes, he's got a while before those guys get in the Hall of Fame. It's going to be a minute.
It'll be dust.
All right. That's going to be a wrap. We will save this conversation on the cornerbacks until tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll also get you guys ready to tell you what we think is going to happen this weekend. Cowboys versus Commanders. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.